For what purposes does the gentleman from Massachusetts seek recognition? Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentleman opposed to the bill?
I am in its current form.
The gentleman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Keating of Massachusetts moves to recommit the bill, H.R. 4768, to the Committee on the Judiciary with instructions to report the same to the House forthwith with the following amendments. Page 3, line 11, insert after extent necessary the following, and except as otherwise provided in this section. Page 4, line 3, insert after the period at the end the following. Section 3, accepted rules regarding the prevention of firearms transfers to criminals and suspected terrorists. Section 706 of Title V, United States Code, as amended by this Act, is further amended by adding at the end the following. C. In the case of a rule made by the Attorney General pertaining to the implementation of the National Instant Firearms Background Check System, including rules pertaining to the denial of firearms transfers to international or domestic terrorist suspects to the extent necessary to decision and when presented, the reviewing court shall decide all relevant questions of law, interpret constitutional and statutory provisions, and determine the meaning or applicability of the terms of an agency action.
The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Members will remove their conversation from the House floor. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my amendment doesn't delay or send back the underlying bill. It does, however, deny firearms transfers to international and domestic terrorist suspects. Mr. Speaker, before I came to this Congress, I was a prosecutor. I was a district attorney. And under Massachusetts law, I was individually responsible for investigating every death in my district for foul play. Many times, I was at a violent crime scene where families had lost a son or a daughter, a brother or sister, a mother or a father. Every time, I would meet with these families after these terrible tragedies. If not at the crime scene, then at the hospital, or at their home, or in my office. And what was the first thing I told them after telling them how sorry I was for this tragedy? I think every single person in this chamber knows what I told them, because I sincerely believe that every member in this chamber would say the same thing if they were in that position. I've come to know you, I've come to learn about you, and I sincerely believe that you would ask this very same question. That question is, if there is anything at all that I can do for you, please let me know. There are few, if any, more helpless feelings I've ever felt in my life than during those moments. Never did I want to do so much, yet felt powerless to do so little. Even years after a conviction, during the appeals process, the family members would talk when we would meet as if it were yesterday. They'd talk about things like how they still kept a jersey or some jeans in a drawer at home because they didn't want to let go of the memory of a son who would never wear these clothes again. Whether it was their faith in God or being strong for their family, they somehow went on. I never have witnessed courage quite like theirs. Invariably, there was one thing that they did ask me, every single family that I can remember. They said, please do everything you can so that another family doesn't go through what we're going through. My team did everything we could so that those criminals we prosecuted do not do what they did to another person again. And isn't that what we're being asked to do in this Congress? We all realize that there's no single way to prevent every gun death, but we can reduce them. Some of the hardest cases I witnessed were motor vehicle homicide cases, lives snatched away in an instant. Yet decades ago, Congress worked together to reduce the number of deaths on the road. They worked together for safer roads, safer cars with airbags and infant seats. Why, in 1972, over 54,000 people were killed on the road in this country. Yet 4 decades later, that number went down by 40%, all the while Americans driving more miles than they ever had any time before. The very same thing can be achieved with universal background checks, limiting the sales of assault weapons, restricting access of deadly weapons to those on the terror watch list. So families are asking us, because we're the only ones they have to ask. Do everything that you can so that another family doesn't go through what they went through. We can keep guns out of the hands of terrorists, and we will. 90% of the public supports these actions. We will protect these families, and we will save lives. We're the only ones that are there to prosecute this case. And I respectfully, and I mean respectfully, call for your help. It can't come soon enough. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Massachusetts yields back the balance of his time.